This is Mac OS Ken.
Another bad news story, Apple not included. Ming-Chi Kuo maps Apple manufacturing and fire up the holiday rage cannon. It is Wednesday, the 12th of October, 2022. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/macosken. This show is also sponsored by Ladder, smart, dynamic term life insurance. There are lots of things that we can put off, but if you need it, setting up term coverage life insurance should not be one of them. So don't wait. Choose life insurance through Ladder today. If you're worried that it's difficult, it's not. Ladder is 100% digital. No doctors, no needles, no paperwork when you apply for $3 million in coverage or less. You just answer a few questions about your health in an application that will take you less time than you will spend listening to today's show. If you're worried about the risk, don't be. There are no hidden fees, you can cancel at any time, and you can get a full refund if you change your mind in the first 30 days. Here is another reason not to put it off. The older you get, the more life insurance costs. There really won't be a better time. So go to ladderlife.com/macosken today to see if you are instantly approved. That's LADDERlife.com/macosken. ladderlife.com/macosken. It's another of those things aren't looking great for tech stories, Apple not included. We got one of those earlier in the week when market tracker IDC said computer shipments were down across the board, Mac shipments not included. That story got confusing, though, when IDC competitor Gartner indicated that computer shipments were down across the board, Mac shipments included. This one's a bit different, though, since it's really just one guy deciding. That guy is Evercore analyst Amit Daryanani. On Tuesday, Apple 3.0 ran part of a note he wrote that had the analyst cutting estimates on tech across the board, Apple not included. Quoting his note, "We see risk to calendar year 23 estimates across most companies in our coverage as multiple headwinds, a strong U.S. dollar, soaring energy prices in Europe, rising interest rates to combat persisting inflation, etc., will likely temper calendar year 23 expectations and guides. Hence, we are lowering estimates for fiscal year 23 across the board as we think the street needs to temper current top and bottom line expectations for companies in our coverage and beyond." 2 points of concern noted in the note include a weakening PC market and smaller growth for IT budgets than those expected by the street. All of that said, Daryanani was careful to cut around 3 companies: the computer networking company Arista Networks, the data center equipment and services firm Verity Holdings, and Apple. Quoting his note again, while September quarter results should be fine, we see growing risk to December quarter and, importantly, calendar year 23 estimates given increased macro risk that will temper IT budgets and result in a more prudent but conservative stance from companies. Mr. Daryanani has an outperform rating on Apple shares. His price target on the shares is $190. Good news for Apple from kids across the country. Apple Insider has word of Piper Sandler's latest survey of that group. The site says the firm has done that thing it does, surveyed over 14,000 teens in 47 states from households with an average income of $66,000. According to the findings, respondents, roughly 16 years of age, are into iPhone and into Apple Watch. Pulling some stats, iPhone ownership among the group still sits at 87%. iPhone intent to purchase still sits at 88%. Apple Watch ownership is now at 31%. That's up from 30% earlier this year and 25% this time last year. And Apple Watch intent to purchase has moved from 14% to 16. The firm says it believes the elevated penetration and intention are important given the mature premium smartphone market. The analysts go on to say these trends are encouraging as Apple continues to introduce new iPhones, which could provide a significant product cycle refresh. We think these positive trends can also be a catalyst for further services growth as well, as the install base for Apple hardware continues to grow. Piper Sandler has a buy rating on Apple shares. The firm's price target on the shares is $195. It looks like Apple is not looking at production in places instead of China. Rather, they are eyeing in addition to. That is the latest from TF International analyst Ming-Chi. In a series of Twitter posts on Tuesday, the analyst laid out what he sees as Apple's manufacturing roadmap. According to that, Apple will get the Indian conglomerate Tata Group together with either Pegatron or Wistron to work on iPhone assembly on the subcontinent. That would seem to support talk we heard last month from the Indian Express that had Tata in talks with Wistron about producing iPhones in India. According to one of Tuesday's Twitter posts, the potential cooperation of Tata Group and Pegatron or Wistron can accelerate the increase in the proportion of non-China iPhone production. The implication from the analyst Twitter thread is that Tata plus other manufacturers would equal more iPhone exports from India. The thread points out that over 80% of the iPhones made in India by Foxconn are currently to meet domestic demand. So, more of the planet's iPhones will come from India, while MacBooks may be made in Thailand, at least some of them. The main non-China production site for MacBook in the future may be Thailand, according to Ming-Chi, who adds that right now all MacBooks are made in China. So where does that lead us? Well, in the next 3 to 5 years, the analyst says at least the U.S. market, about 25 to 30% of global shipments, can be supplied by assembly sites located in non-China to reduce potential impacts from political risks, for example, U.S.-China tariffs. Out past 5 years, the thread says the non-Chinese markets will be supplied by assembly sites located in non-China, while the Chinese market will be supplied by assembly sites located in China. He also says that assemblers in China and outside the Middle Kingdom will be able to handle new product introduction. That folds nicely into his thinking that China and India will be able to start production of future iPhones at the same time. It seems that Apple may turn on 5G for iPhone in India soon. A piece from that country's Economic Times says senior executives from Apple and Bharti Airtel will meet this week to discuss a rollout timeline for software updates to 5G-capable iPhones so that they support the Indian telco's 5G network. So say secret people said to know something about something. Assuming it pans out, there will be no new iPhone required. Units going back to 2020's iPhone 12 are 5G capable. They just need a software update. Well, that and a decent amount of testing by Apple. Economic Times thinks the switch could be flipped sometime in December after testing and validating the devices on the country's 5G networks. Apple retail employees down under look set to send a short but potentially powerful message. The Mac Observer highlights a Reuters report that says a number of Apple Store employees in Australia are staging a strike due to the lack of progress on wage negotiations. Potentially powerful, though again, it will be a short message. The piece says the action is scheduled for the 18th of October, with the worker walkout planned to last about an hour. More news in a moment, but first a word from BetterHelp, online therapy and sponsor of today's show. Why do I like therapy? I don't always, and I don't always see a therapist either. When I have had times, though, dealing with or getting past particularly problematic problems, that's when therapy has been key for me. If you've got such problems affecting you, consider BetterHelp. There is a lot I like about BetterHelp. starting with choice. You're not limited by who's around you. Since it all happens online, you can work with one of the seemingly countless counselors who work with BetterHelp. You just let them know the kind of stuff you want to work on and the kind of counselor you want to work with, and BetterHelp works to find the right therapist for you. And if that person ends up not being a good match, changing is easy, and it doesn't cost anything extra. BetterHelp is convenient, it is affordable, and it's as close as your tablet, computer, or phone. When you want to be a better problem solver, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/macOSKen today to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/macOSKen. betterhelp.com/macOSKen. And thanks to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's show. The Big Bang Beta Parade rolls on. A couple of pieces from Apple Insider say developers got hot newness on Tuesday. One says members of the Apple Developer Program got access to fifth betas of iOS and tvOS 16.1, as well as a sixth beta of iPadOS 16.1. Meanwhile, a second piece from the site says developers were seeded an 11th beta of macOS 13 Ventura. While OS betas never really stop, the latest round should hear a crescendo soon. The 16.1 updates are expected to hit sometime this month. Seems likely that the Ventura release will hit about the same time. It wasn't just a new round of betas developers picked up on Tuesday. They also got a new resource. Mac Rumors says Apple has introduced a new feature for dev types called Ask Apple. The piece says the program will give developers access to Apple engineers and experts, letting them quiz the pros on such topics as implementing new beta features, updates introduced at WWDC, adopting Dynamic Island, swapping to Swift UI, and more. Susan Prescott, Apple's VP of Worldwide Developer Relations and Enterprise and Education Marketing, says Ask Apple is meant to address an increased appetite among developers for one-on-one support and conversation with Apple experts. The program is free, as long as you're already paying. Mac Rumor says registration is available to all members of the Apple Developer Program and the Apple Developer Enterprise Program. More information is available on Apple's developer site. And finally today, fire up the rage cannon. The Charlie Brown holiday specials will not be on PBS this year. A couple of years ago, Apple TV Plus picked up the exclusive rights to a lot of the Peanuts catalog. That included a deal to bankroll new series and specials, as well as play host to old shows like It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown, A Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, and A Charlie Brown Christmas. And there was much wailing and gnashing of teeth because people didn't want to pay $4.99 to watch these shows that they had watched for years for free, or really without realizing they were paying for them. So Apple cut a deal to show the Thanksgiving and Christmas specials on PBS, and now that deal is done. 9 to 5 Mac says the Cupertino streamer is exercising the exclusive part of its exclusivity pact, and yet, you still don't have to pay to watch them. According to the report, Apple will stream the shows for free for everyone, no subscription needed, for a limited time. 9 to 5 Mac says a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving will stream for free on the 23rd of November through the 27th, and a Charlie Brown Christmas will stream from the 22nd of December through December 25th. Today on the Mac Observer's Daily Observations podcast, have you been following the Lufthansa AirTag PR confusion? Mac Geek Gab co-host Dave Hamilton has. He'll be by to fill us in. Plus, Dave and I play armchair psychologists. Is Apple selling fear or safety? And is there a difference? That is all today on the Daily Observations podcast from the Mac Observer, online at macobserver.com. or wherever you get podcasts. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by Ladder, smart, dynamic term life insurance. Learn more at ladderlife.com/macOSKen. This show is also sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Cha.